Can 25 grams of creatine actually reverse brain fog? It might sound crazy, but hear me out. So, a few weeks ago, I was talking to this neuroscientist friend of mine, and he dropped me this secret sauce on me. He said, most people think creatine is just for muscles, right? But your brain uses more energy than any other organ in your body. And here's what blew my mind. Your brain cells need something called ATP to function. Think of ATP like fuel for your car. Without it, your engine just stops running. But here's the thing. When you're mentally exhausted, when you have that brain fog, your brain literally runs out of fuel. Now, if you have creatine, it's like having a backup generator for your brain. See, most people are walking around with their mental gas tank on empty. They're chugging coffee, energy drinks, trying every single nootropic on the market. But they're missing the most basic thing. Their brain doesn't have enough raw energy to function properly. But that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part is how this all connects to why you can't focus anymore. You know that feeling when you sit down to do important work and your mind just wanders. You check your phone, open another tab, and suddenly you're watching videos about how to make tennis balls. And that's not a discipline problem, that's an energy problem. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focus and decision making, it's like a muscle. And just like any muscle, when it doesn't have enough fuel, it gets weaker. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Studies show that creatine can increase brain energy by up to 15%, but most people are taking 3 to 5 grams a day, and that's what the fitness industry tells you to take for your muscles. But your brain might need way more than that. And there's this researcher named Dr. Caroline Rye who did a study on this. And she gave people 20 grams of creatine daily for just 6 weeks. And the results were insane. Their working memory improved, their processing speed got faster, and brain fog gone. But here's what nobody talks about. Most entrepreneurs I know are running their brains like race cars on fumes. They're pushing themselves harder and harder, but they're not giving their brain the basic fuel it needs to perform. It's like trying to run a Ferrari on cheap gas and wondering why the engine keeps stuttering. Now, of course, I'm not saying creatine is some magic thing, but think about this. If your brain is running empty, no productivity system in the world is going to help you. No app, no time blocking technique, no meditation practice. You need fuel first. And here's the thing that really got me thinking. We've been approaching focus and productivity all wrong, to be honest. We've been trying to manage our attention, block websites, use willpower, but we've been ignoring the most basic thing, whether our brains has enough energy to actually focus in the first place. It's like trying to fix a car that's out of gas by adjusting the mirrors. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice, but here's what I started doing. I began taking 20 grams of creatine daily, not the 5 grams the fitness guys recommend. 20 grams split throughout the day to avoid stomach discomfort. So I took 5 grams to every meal, and within 2 weeks something shifted. That afternoon brain fog that I used to have was gone. Those moments where I sit down to work and my mind would just drift, they started happening less and less. But the real test came during my deep work sessions. Before, I could maybe focus for 20-30 minutes before my brain would start craving distraction. But after a few weeks on higher dose creatine, I was hitting 90-minute focus sessions. No willpower required. My brain just worked. Now, here's what's really wild about this. Most people think focus is about blocking distractions. But what if focus is actually about having enough brain energy that distractions aren't appealing anymore? Think about it. When you're truly engaged in something, when your brain has the fuel it needs, you don't want to check your phone, you don't want to scroll social media, you're just in the zone. But when your brain is running on empty, everything becomes a distraction because your brain is desperately seeking that next hit of stimulation to keep going. It's like the difference between a well-fed lion and a starving one. The well-fed lion can focus on the hunt, and the starving one gets distracted by every sound, every movement, because it's desperate for food. And your brain works the same way. And here's where it gets really interesting for entrepreneurs. Most successful business owners I know hit this wall around 2-3 p.m. Their decision making gets fuzzy. They start making reactive choices instead of strategic ones. They reach for their phone more often. And that's not a character flaw. That's their brain running out of fuel. But imagine if your brain had steady energy all day long. Imagine if your afternoon was just as sharp as your morning. Imagine if you could make clear decisions even when you're tired. And that's what adequate brain energy can do for you. Now, obviously, creatine isn't the only piece of the puzzle. You still need to manage your dopamine, reduce digital overstimulation, and build better systems. But it might actually be the foundation that makes everything else actually work. Because here's the thing. You can have the best productivity systems in the world, but if your brain doesn't have the energy to execute it, you're just setting yourself up for failure. It's like having a perfect workout plan but never eating enough protein. The plan is great, but you're missing the basic building blocks. So here's what I want you to think about. What if focus problems aren't about willpower? What if they're not about discipline or motivation or having the right app? What if it's simpler than that? What if your brain is just hungry? And before you dismiss this as too simple, remember, the most powerful solutions often are the simplest ones. We just overcomplicate them because simple doesn't feel sophisticated enough. But sometimes the answer isn't another complex system. Sometimes it's just giving your brain what it needs to function properly. Now, I'm not saying to go out and start taking 25 grams of creatine out of nowhere, especially if you've never tried creatine before. You can start off with a recommended dose and then do your research, but remember this and consider the possibility of taking 20 grams. But here's the truth. Your brain fog is probably not just a creatine deficiency. It's a complex problem with a energy, attention, and reward system deficit all colliding at once. And yes, you can use that 25-gram hack based on the latest science for some cognitive boost to help you perform better. But then, and this is critical, pivot to the solid long-term habits that prevent that frog from ever rolling back in the first place. If you're ready to build that solid foundation without having to depend on a supplement, your next step is to watch this video on how to break free from digital overstimulation. And always remember this rule: supplements can provide a boost, but sustainable, effective habits are the real engine of performance. Keep growing, stay sharp. It's Lunden signing out.